Welcome to How to Find Your Family's Records in the Virgin Islands. I'm going to show you a brief roadmap of a little overview of the history of the US and British Virgin Islands. This is going to be able to put your family into the context from which they lived. So sorry. And then I'm going to show you the records that are available at familysearch.org. And what is so incredible about familysearch.org is they are always uploading new information all the time, and it is free. Then thirdly, I'm going to go over the documents that you can only find in the Virgin Islands. So if you don't live there, you're going to need a little help being able to access those documents. Now, not to worry about screenshotting anything or taking notes. I have all of this information in the syllabus. You're going to be able to download it below this video. And it's more like an ebook. It turned out with 30 pages of information. So hi, if we haven't met before, my name is Valerie Sins. I am a 10th generation Virgin Islander, and I have loved researching my family history since I was a little girl. It all started for me listening to the stories my grandma shared. Every house she ever lived in was haunted. So you can imagine the stories I heard growing up. Then there were the stories of buried treasure. She told us that her grandfather once found his wealth in a cave in the British Virgin Islands. So of course, with the Virgin Islands, with pirates and privateers, we just were at the edge of our seats listening to her stories. Then she also shared these Ouija board stories. Have you ever heard of this board game? It became popular at the end of the 1800s. And you place your hands on the planchette and you'd ask the board a question, and it would mysteriously move around and reveal a response to you. Well, after she played this game several times, she made us promise never to use the Ouija board again. So, but of course, the stories and her experiences were absolutely unforgettable. Now, back in 2015, as the family historian, loving all the stories I heard growing up, I decided to travel to Salt Lake City to RootsTech for the very first time. And this is where I learned all about blogging about my family history, connecting the generations. So when I returned home, I started a blog called vintagevirginislands.com. It now has 10,000 followers, but this is where I share my discoveries of all the events that happened on St. Thomas and St. Croix, Hassel Island, and Tortola. And all of those stories that my grandma told me growing up, I've turned them into books now. This one, Vintage St. John, is all about the family's properties on the island of St. John. 3/4 of the VI National Park once belonged to her parents, and they were sold to Lawrence Rockefeller. And there's an interesting story of how that came to be. And then we have this newest book about Norman Island. This one has all the stories she told me about the treasure and the pirates and what her grandfather found. And on the cover are the coins that she believed he found in the cave. So those are fascinating reads if you want to learn a little bit more about the history. Now, as you're researching your family history, I want to impress upon you the importance of turning your piles of genealogy files into products. Don't leave your piles of files for your family. I know that my kids are sadly not as interested in family history as I am. So I'm doing my best to turn them into products, things like books, things like digital magazines and newspapers, even scrapbooks. I've created a whole bunch of genealogy templates to make that so much easier. And they love that. It's the digital age now, so they can't read my scribbly handwriting in my files. They would much prefer my books. Now, here are some of the templates I'm creating, magazines to make it easy for you to share your family history. This is all done in Canva. And as you know, Canva, oh my goodness, Canva, the app, has 170 million users every month. So it's the easiest digital platform to use and so much fun. Digital newspapers is another awesome template to be able to share your family history. My kids love this. And then you have these pedigree charts. I put together these charts so that I can see the big picture of exactly what I have. You know, if I'm missing a birthday for somebody, I can easily see it. If I need a photograph for another ancestor, that becomes obvious. So definitely you've got to pick up a couple of pedigree charts to get started with your family history. It's going to make things so much easier and so much fun. I've even used ebooks. Digital ebooks are really fun and easy as well. So let's learn a little bit about the Virgin Islands. There are over 110 islands that make up the US and BVI. As you can see on the map, they're all very close together. We have the US Virgin Islands and the British Virgin Islands next door. It's only about a 30-minute ferry ride from the USVI to the BVI. And we have the big islands of St. Thomas and St. John, St. Croix. You have Hassel Island and Water Island, and of course, countless other smaller islands. And then in the British Virgin Islands, you've got Anegada, Tortola, Virgin Gorda, and of course, Norman Island that I was mentioned before, and Peter Island. Now you can see over here on the right is the Danish flag. The US Virgin Islands were once known as the Danish West Indies from 1672 to 1917. And then these islands were ceded to the United States in 1917. So they are under the US flag today. And this is very important, especially when you're looking for your family's records. You know, they may be, depending on when they lived in the islands, some of their records might be in Denmark, some might be in Washington, D.C., or others may be in the Virgin Islands. And then we have, of course, the British Virgin Islands have been British since 1666. So let's look at the beautiful island of St. Thomas. This is where I grew up. As you can see, this line here on the horizon is our cruise ship dock. This is where we can see 2.5 million visitors every year. And this harbor has been so popular. It is the main attraction to the island of St. Thomas, and the reason why the United States wanted to acquire these islands. Today, the population is over 100,000. But back in the day, 100 years ago, it was only 30,000. And as you can see, the harbor again, very popular, always filled with ships. Now, the island of St. Croix, this was always known as the Garden of the West Indies. With its fertile soil, it was the planting of root vegetables and sugarcane and cotton, all to be exported from the island. And then you have the little island of St. John. This is this is where I'm coming from you today on St. John. It's only 20 square miles, 2 small towns, but its claim to fame is the bay leaf. Oh my goodness, the bay leaves were the highest quality bay leaves produced in the Caribbean and maybe even the world. Now, these leaves were boiled long ago and they were distilled and turned into a tonic called bay rum. And this product was like a cure-all. You know, if you had a headache or you had mosquito bites and so forth, everyone used bay rum. But when the president of the United States used bay rum on his hair and told the world about it, it became an international best-selling product. Now we have the British Virgin Islands. They are a leading offshore financial center and a super popular sailing destination with hundreds of little secret coves to anchor in. It's absolutely stunning. Now let's look at a brief overview of the history. Now, long ago, we had the Arawak Indians settling from South America. Then we see the arrival of Christopher Columbus. He is the one that names these islands after the legend of St. Ursula. Then we have the Dutch and the English, and then we have 2 incredible events that occurred in the history of the island, and that is emancipation. You can see that it happened in the BVI in 1834, and not till 14 years later that this happened in the Danish West Indies. And on the bottom here, you see that in 1917, Denmark cedes the islands to the United States. And you may wonder, why would a country transfer their possessions to another country? And there are some important reasons behind this that do affect your records and where you can find your records when you're looking for your family history. Remember I showed you St. Thomas had an incredible landlocked harbor? This was a safe anchorage for the ships from any nation. It was a free port. And when other nations were at war, the Danish West Indies always maintained a neutral position. Now, there was some talk, of course, between the US and Denmark over many years. And the US feared that because these islands were so close in proximity to them, I mean, only like a 12 or 14-day sail, they feared enemy occupation of these islands. So on March 31st, 1917, the US acquired them for $25 million. This is when they became known as the United States Virgin Islands and no longer the Danish West Indies. This occurred in my grandmother's day. She was born in 1911, so she was a little girl when this was happening. So it's not that long ago. And then in 1927, US citizenship was granted to everyone who wished to relinquish their Danish citizenship. So this is a background of the history of the islands. Now, before we dig into researching, all about our family history, there are 3 resources I want to impress upon you that you should have before you start. Number 1 is going to be a plan. If you don't have a written plan, you're going to spend 3 hours searching the records and finding all kinds of information on your cousin family and not finding the records you really want to find on your direct ancestor. So have a goal, have a 1-page plan, write down what you know about that person that you're searching or that family so that you don't get sidetracked. Okay, I'm going to show you that I've included a 1-page research plan in the syllabus, so not to worry. You'll find it on page 12. And if you have something like an iPad with GoodNotes, you can send this document to your iPad and be able to fill it in with your iPad pencil. It's really, really cool, but you can see that it's just a 1-pager that's going to help you stay on track and in focus. 2, you're going to need a bookmark organizer. And what is that? Well, when you are researching and you're finding all kinds of fabulous records about your family, you're going to need a place to keep all those links. 2 weeks is going to pass and you're going to be like, oh, I wish I could go back and see if my ancestor's sibling is in that record group, or I want to write a book and, I need to be able to get the citation. If you don't have those links already saved, then you're going to have to retrace your steps and it's going to take you longer and more time and maybe get frustrated because you can't find the source to your original records. So definitely have a bookmark organizer. I'm going to show you which one I use. If you go to valeriesims.info/link saver, this is where I save all my links. It's a very robust system because I have a lot of links. I research almost every day. Now, your browser can also save your links as well. If you need a little training, you can visit valeriesims.info/bookmarks, and you're going to be able to watch just a 10-minute video and get a PDF all for free, just so you can learn how to keep track of those links on your desktop. Number 3, you gotta have a cloud-based storage, and ideally it should be a paid storage. The free ones are just not going to get you enough space. So I use Dropbox. If you want to learn more about that, you can visit valeriesims.info/Dropbox. All those links are in the syllabus. This is incredible. I've used this for decades and I can still find information. This is what's helped me be able to write my books because all of it is there. Everything I find, I save in Dropbox. There are other places too. You can try Evernote. I use 5 of these 6 myself. Evernote and iCloud, and of course, OneDrive. As family historians, we're always afraid we're going to lose our information or our photographs. And you never want to do that. So definitely pick one of these, go all in, buy a subscription, and start keeping everything organized. Now, of course, I like a jump drive. Whenever I visit a library, I want to have something in my hand, especially all the incredible discoveries I make. I know it won't last forever, and they do get corrupted from time to time. But at least that day when I'm researching, I will put information on a jump drive or an external hard drive. And those, of course, you can find on Amazon very easily. Now, for photo storage, this is so important. I have hundreds, maybe thousands of photos as a family historian. And I use a site called SmugMug. SmugMug. This is incredible for being able to organize your photos, label your photos, keep all the metadata together. It is incredible. And you can find out more info with this link, or, in the syllabus has all the links to these incredible resources. But this is what I use, and this has helped me so much, especially when writing my book. The first book had 200 photographs in it. And that's quite a task to keep track of who's in 200 photographs and the source and copyright information. So just a quick recap. You need a plan, a place to save your links, and some kind of cloud-based storage. All right. You don't want to download all these census information and store them on your laptop, because it's just going to take up so much memory. Remember, researching your family history, this is a journey back in time. All the incredible discoveries you make about your family, they form the building blocks of your family's legacy. So you've got to get in the habit of capturing them as you're researching. It's going to help you so much. So, who are you looking for? Is it a great-great-grandma, a great-great-grandfather? Who is it that you're so curious about? First thing I do is head to familysearch.org. And of course, I'm going to enter Virgin Islands in the search field. And this is what's going to pop up. These records are the first you're going to see. But I have to say now, the first 3 record groups here, I have not found any Virgin Island records in this record group. So I would recommend that you start down here. Focus here on the passenger arrivals, the census records, and the church. Now, the passenger arrival records, this is a very small collection. This is really the inter-island boats going between Tortola and St. Thomas on the Tortola sloops. But if you get lucky, you can find the name of the boat that your ancestor went on, or perhaps the date that he traveled. They're really, really just passenger cards. But still, as a family historian, every little bit about our ancestors and our families is an incredible discovery. Now, to find some super duper passenger arrival records, you want to have a look at statueofliberty.org. I've created a short link for you so that it takes you right to this page, the passenger search field right here. Just visit valeriesims.info/Ellis Island and takes you right here. Pop in the names, and if you're lucky and you find your ancestor, it's going to be, you'll see their date of birth, who they were going with, where they were going. It is so incredible. This record group now, I found my great-grandparents on this travel document for 1927, and this column has all the addresses of where everybody was going. And so I just found the one for my ancestor. I went to Google Earth to see where were they traveling. This is incredible. So this is what popped up on Google Earth for 143rd West 104th Street. I don't know why they were going there. I don't know if it was a school at the time, or maybe they had relatives visiting, but it is really so cool. That's going to take me on another path to do even more researching to find out just what they were doing in New York City. So here are some of the church records now that you can find at familysearch.org for the VI. There is a miscellaneous collection. It's not a complete collection, but you can find Anglican church records and some Dutch Reform records, as well as the Lutheran Church, but there won't be any Catholic records. I'm going to show you later where to find the Catholic church records. Now, here's some military records. What's really cool about these, and they're all typed up, so you don't have to read any squiggly handwriting. You can quickly search this record group within a matter of minutes. Then we have the census records. These are really phenomenal. I happen to have had a photograph of my great-grandma taken months before the census. And if I didn't have this census information, I wouldn't have known that she was the eldest of 9 kids, or the relationship between all her siblings, who was older, who was younger. It is incredible information that's all there on familysearch.org for free. Now, of course, this photograph is amazing because you have 3 generations in one picture. So that is a treasured image in our family. Now, the 1950 census. Oh, we have been waiting so long just to get a peek at these. Did you realize that census records only become popular or become available 72 years after they were taken? So only in 2022 were we able to access this. Now, this is my great-grandmother. She's all grown up here. Unfortunately, she was a widow in 1950 because her husband passed in 49. So now she is listed as the head of the family. Now, she was always the lady of the house. Her husband was the one that managed the properties and the businesses and the livestock. So this is a different chapter in her life. But having access to the census record, I can now see and realize that she survived the 1918 flu pandemic, or the Great Depression, and World War I and II. It's really the incredible amount of information. All of this is going to be added to her story to be shared with the family, and my kids one day. It's really amazing. So the 1950 census, I've created a short, easy link for you that takes you right to the search box. It's ValerieSims.info/1950 census, and you can see if your ancestor is in that record group. Now, the Recorder of Deeds office. You can't research your family history without looking to see what properties they own. These are amazing. This is where you can find out probate information, what they owned, how much they sold their property for. And of course, you can also find maybe your ancestor's signature. And today there's so much science behind really learning about someone's personality by their signature. So definitely grab those signatures. There are apps that could help you do that and include that in your story. The older deeds now are not available online. Those you're really going to have to go into the office to get help with. And of course, I recommend you call and make sure they can help you on that particular day with what you're looking for. But there are more recent records from the 1990s that you can find. Just visit ValerieSims.info/VIDeeds, and you'll be able to have a look at those. Now, the Danish West Indies. This is where you're going to find the oldest records about the Virgin Islands. And that is incredible. Here we have also the religious affiliation. When I was growing up and I was chatting to my grandma, I never realized the importance of asking her about her religious affiliation, and if anyone had converted in the family. I just assumed that they were Catholic all the way back, but that's not so. And this is important to know, especially when you're searching for baptismal records. I was looking someplace and they were really somewhere else because I had no idea that my great-grandfather had converted from being Episcopalian to now being Catholic. So that's a pro tip for anybody starting their research journey. Do ask your ancestors if anyone had converted to another religion. And then, of course, on these records, you're going to see the family members, anyone else living in the home, and what their relationship was, to the head of the household. You can find out a lot of incredible information about the family, but you can visit. Here's a short link at the bottom here. Again, that's in your syllabus, so not to worry. They also have some Danish records as well. This links, as you can see, to the National Archives, and with all the different apps now that, you can be able to get those transcribed if you do find your family in those records. All right, let's head over to the British Virgin Islands. This is incredible. This is where my family first started when they arrived in the West Indies, about 1690s. They came to Virgin Gorda. So again, head to familysearch.org and search for British Virgin Islands. And these are the record groups that are going to pop up: the Anglican, the civil records, and Methodist church records. So if you know your ancestors' religious affiliation, by all means, search the Anglican church records, but I would search all of them because you never know where they might appear. Now, let's head over to the Methodist church records. These are some of the oldest records that have survived the test of time. It is amazing. You can visit the church as well in Tortola, or you can visit Family Search from the comfort of your own home and learn more from this record group. Now, there are also some civil registration records. Here's where we're going to find the birth, the deaths, the marriages of our ancestors. Here's a listing from 1824. This is the oldest collection I've found. And of course, you could recognize some of the island names. We have Pickering and Hodge, Martin and Blunder. And they even have some of the father's professions. We have a sailor, a carpenter, boatswain. So this is an amazing collection. It's on Ancestry as well, and it's also at Family Search. So we've got some BVI death registrations. And what's unique about this collection is they also include the spouse's name. So if you don't know your ancestor's spouse's name, you might be able to find it in this collection. So definitely have a look. Now we have the marriages. They only started 1878 though. Now this is my great-great-great-grandfather, and he was born in Anegada in 1832, and he got married in 1850. And sadly, we have not been able to find that record to find out, his wife's maiden name. All we know is Anne Elizabeth, but there are a lot of Anne Elizabeths in the BVI. So that is my brick wall that I have been working on for decades, hoping to find it somewhere. But if your family was there and fall between this 1878 to 1934, you may be in luck. UK also has some great records and some guides that can help you. The link is in the syllabus. Don't forget now, the BVI Department of Land Registry. It is one of the most incredible resources for finding your family's history. I lucked out to find all kinds of records on my ancestors. And of course, I learned that a great-great-grandfather was purchasing property when he was just a teenager. So of course, it raises more questions and mystery as to what he was doing and where did he get the money. And it was just such a fascinating trail for me that I've included in my books. But definitely you want to call ahead of time. These records are not available online. So you're going to have to reach out to somebody who can help you, but they are definitely worth researching. So this is just a brief recap. The community college in the BVI also has some old records. So call them and see if you can find out exactly what and when. You can take a look. And of course, the registry of births, it starts at 1858, and several other resources. But don't worry about writing these down. I have them all in the syllabus. Now, I want to impress upon you, it's so important to follow these 5 historical societies on Facebook. You are going to get so much help from each one of them. Once you like their page, their information is going to show up in your stream. You're going to be able to send them a private message, tell them what you're working on, tell them what you're looking for. All of them know exactly what they have in their holdings. And if they don't have what you need, they can send you in the right direction. So the Caribbean Genealogy Library has been incredible for me because I would say 90% of their records are online. You can search from the comfort of your own home and learn so much just by what they have posted on their website. The St. Croix Landmark Society has an incredible amount of information and photographs too. Reach out to them because it's not visible online, but they'll be happy to help you. The Historical Trust has an amazing museum in St. Thomas, and they have walking tours throughout the island and on Hassel Island as well, and they can help you and steer you in the right direction. Then you have the St. John Historical Society. They are celebrating their 50th anniversary in St. John next month. And they have a new office and they are very active. They are staffed by volunteers and they always have functions and get-togethers and talks. So definitely reach out to them if your ancestor was from the island of St. John. And then you have the BVI National Archives as well. They have incredible resources and microfilms there too. So definitely, these are the top 5 that I recommend you definitely like and follow. Now I've got to show you this Caribbean Genealogy Library. They have 12 must-see records that I am excited to show you because I've been able to write 2 books just from the information, a lot of it gleaned from the library. So you can visit them at cgl.bi. And then you can find out right here under the research button, you can learn more. But let's go through these records quickly so you can see. Remember I told you that Family Search has some of the baptismal records, but not all. Well, you're going to find all of them right here at CGL. All Saints, Holy Cross, the Quaker registers, they're all there. They're all, though, on microfilm, so they're not available online. But if you visit this link, valeriesims.info/church records, it's going to take you directly to their PDF. And you're going to be able to get those numbers for the microfilms that you need, and then either ask them for help or ask someone or a volunteer to be able to help you with the information you're looking for. So this is an incredible record group. This is one of 12 that are one of my favorites at CGL. Then remember, the Danish records are the oldest records you're going to find by the Virgin Islands. So you definitely want to take a look at those. Now we have a really cool collection. This collection is one of the rarest I have seen because there are photographs. You do not find photographs with many of the record sets that we research. This collection originated from the U.S. National Archives. And what they are U.S. identification cards. So if someone was traveling between 1917 and 1919, they needed one of these cards. And the amount of information is mind-boggling. This one is for a gentleman by the name of Dante G. Beretta. Now, lucky for the Beretta family, he has a descendant by the same name who is just as excited about family history and genealogy as I am. So of course, when he found this ID card, he must have been thrilled. Here you can learn the age, the height, complexion, even the signature of his ancestor. And Dante has, his descendant has shared a lot of his research with everyone at CGL. And if you follow them on YouTube, this is where they post all their videos. And you can watch some of these presentations. Absolutely incredible. Here's a short link if you want to start right away taking a look at this collection. You can find it at valeriesims.info/ID cards. Now, here's some more information on these cards. They're even fingerprints. This is so rare. You can see this for yourselves. It's absolutely amazing. The hair, the eye color, any scars they might have had, even where their parents were born. It is one of the rarest collections I've seen with the most information. Now, these are a couple of photographs that came from this set. Now, this gentleman here was not from the Virgin Islands and didn't live in the Virgin Islands. And I want to share something with you. When you're researching, sometimes you get those inklings or those nudges, those intuitive feelings that say, search this record group. Even though your ancestor was never born there, had no relationship with that place, you know, you should follow that inkling because you never know what you're going to find. This is an amazing photograph of a man in his uniform that I would love to find if he was my ancestor, because I'm sure there's a story to tell, you know, just by his cap and the emblem and all of this information. It really is something. So definitely follow your heart, follow your, you know, your inner guidance, and definitely look at records where even if you believe your ancestor never lived in a certain locale. Now here, the applications for these ID cards is just as incredible. Here you're going to find out when they sailed and why they were sailing, where they were going. Another absolute information. I would put all of these into templates, into little story templates to tell this tale about my ancestor. Now, this is a fun collection too. Number 4 of 12 are pet registrations. Here is where I learned that my great-grandparents had a little black dog called Willie. You know, there isn't a whole lot of information about this collection, but hey, when you're writing your family history and telling their story, every little bit plays a role. Every little bit makes it interesting. So there's a short link back here on the bottom, ValerieSims.info/pets. Again, it's in the syllabus. Now, this record group, number 5 of 12, that you have to see at the genealogy library. Remember I shared with you that Denmark ceded their islands to the United States. Well, when they did that, they gave their citizens the opportunity to keep their Danish citizenship or to relinquish it. Well, this gentleman, Mr. Joseph Loran, decided to keep his. And on this particular record group, here's his name, his wife's name, where he's born, his birth date, all of this information. And what is incredible about Mr. Loran is in 1911, he received a silver medal from the King of Denmark for his service. He was the longest serving postal worker in the Danish West Indies, a man of honor, of integrity, of dedication to his community. And if I was a descendant of the Loran family, I would be so excited to find this record group. It's so amazing. He became a popular postcard, as you can see, which is why we have an image of him. This was taken on Main Street, probably about the time he was awarded that silver medal, around 1911. So if you want to learn more about this collection, again, I have a short link at the bottom and in the syllabus. All right, number 6 out of 12. If your ancestor was a part of the Moravian Church, you're in luck because they kept so many records, personal papers, photographs, postcards, all kinds of information. They have a dedicated website just to this. And of course, there's a short link that you can visit to find more on your ancestors. Number 7. Wow, it just gets better and better, guys. This collection is 1,000 historical postcards. They've been curated by Michael and Jane Sheen for decades. They have been buying them and saving them from different auction houses around the world. And sadly, when Michael passed away a few years ago, Jane donated them all to the Caribbean Genealogy Library. Not only that, she helped to digitalize them as well. So, as you know, there's nothing rarer than an old photograph. With this collection, you're going to be able to place your ancestor amongst the historical buildings, in front of the beautiful harbor views. You're going to know about the activities that took place, the basket making, the coaling of a ship. This is really an incredible collection. Now, because it's so large, it's not available online. It is only available at the library. So they have dedicated servers and dedicated computers to be able to hold this vast collection. But this is definitely worth a look, for sure. Now, if your ancestors from St. John, you've got the oldest census here, 1835, which is amazing. Because remember, St. John is only 20 square miles. And then, of course, you have the registers from 1824. We can thank David Knight and his partner Lolly for transcribing them all so that they're nicely typed up and easy to search. You won't have to squint to try to read the fine handwriting on these records. They are all easily available for you. And that is amazing. And we thank them for that. And these as well are some incredibly rare images of St. Jonians. You know, back in the day, there was no cameras on St. John. The only way that these images were captured was because a Danish prince was visiting the island in 1896. Prince Carl stopped over at the island of St. John, and with him in his party must have been someone with a camera who actually saved these images and sent them to the Danish archive so that they're accessible to us. But this is Miss Anne Benjamin. She was an incredibly popular teacher in Coral Bay, and this is one of her youngest pupils. And so this collection is really incredible to be able to see these images and even have records that have survived the test of time is amazing. There are also Danish records too. These are linked to the Danish National Archives. Some of them may be in Danish, but with all the apps out there today, you know, you can get them transcribed and get help with them. This is another amazing collection. We have to thank Maria Smith. She was a volunteer who went to all the different cemeteries, taking photographs of the headstones. And you know, these headstones reveal so much information about our ancestors. You might be able to find that elusive maiden name. You know, our female ancestors are so hard to find, so that when you do find a maiden name, it's a cause for celebration. Now, this collection has 28,000 records, so you know they are too large to be able to offer online, but they're all on the computer database there. I believe there is 1,000 of them that you can see online, so you can search those. And of course, they're all nicely typed up like this, so you'll be able to search those really, really easily. All right. Now, number 11 out of 12 is my favorite collection. It's the newspaper clippings. This is where I've been able to find so much information about my ancestors, and you will too. Interesting stories when they were leaving on the Viking and sailing to St. Croix, when they were getting married. I found my grandmother, my mother, my great-grandparents, everybody, when they were getting married, they posted their announcements. Then you have the celebrations and what was happening. And sadly, of course, some of the tragedies. If your ancestor had a company, you know, there's a good chance when they opened up that they celebrated and with a posting, as well as when they closed or when there was an anniversary. So this is a short link I created because the link to the Danish newspapers is so long that you will never remember it. So visit valeriesims.info/Danish newspapers, and you could start searching this collection. You know, we're always looking for the obituaries. And it's incredible when you do find an obituary, because sometimes you can find out, what did they pass away from? You know, did they have yellow fever? You know, were they lost at sea? There's so many interesting tidbits in the obituary. This one was for Mr. G.W. Smith. He was a merchant in St. Thomas, and when he died, you know, his body was sent back by ship to New York. So if this was my family, I would start looking now at findagrave.com so that I could learn more and maybe even see his headstone and discover a little bit more about his history. So definitely check out the newspapers. Now the last collection is the funeral booklets. Here is where you might be able to find your entire family tree because they're packed full with so much information. Now, it really only covers, if your ancestor was born in the late 1800s, you know, they don't go further back than that because this is a relatively new thing, these funeral booklets, but they're all typed up, they're all indexed, they're all filed alphabetically. So you'll be able to search online at valeriesims.info/funeral booklets and see if they have something on your family member, because it is incredible. So one more collection we want to share with you is that of the Frenchtown community. This was incredibly talented group of people who emigrated to the islands in the mid-1800s to the late 1800s. And most of their records could probably be found in the St. Peter and Paul Catholic Church. But maybe after 1921, when they built their own church, those records would be found there. There are also some incredible blogs to follow, but you definitely want to reach out and follow and like the French Heritage Museum. You can private message them, let them know what you're working on, and they'll be able to say, hey, we know of somebody else who's working on that same family line, and the two of you can work together. You never know what can happen and the help that you can get. But definitely like their page. You can find more information on valeriesims.info/Frenchtown video. It's an incredible little story about their lives and their talent for crafts and weaving, straw hats, straw mats, straw baskets, fishing nets, an incredible history and contribution to St. Thomas and the Virgin Islands. And of course, I have it all in the syllabus, not to worry. I hope you haven't been taking notes this whole time because I have so much here for you. Other Facebook groups to follow, Vintage Virgin Islands. That's my Facebook group where I share all the incredible things I find on old auction sites, as well as, blog posts I write about and events that took place in the VI. And then you have the BVI History and Heritage Group. They have incredible old photographs of Tortola, rarely seen by anyone. Then you have a genealogy group that's quite active. Kicking It VI, the capsule project is amazing. They're working hard to get the younger generation involved in the culture and preserving the history of the BVI. And if you're curious about what life was like under, the Danish flag, follow some of these other Danish American groups, and then you can get a feel for what the Danish West Indies was like, their culture, their foods, their history. This is my website at vintagevirginislands.com, where I do share some of those old stories, all the clippings from the old newspapers. Follow along, get on the list, grab a newsletter, and you can learn more about the events that took place in the island's history. There are over 300 blog posts and even more that I have yet to post. But you can learn about the aviation history of the Virgin Islands, the maritime history of the Virgin Islands, the history of the clergy and the church. There are so many incredible events that occurred in the Virgin Islands that's simply fascinating. Remember too, everyone has a story. Even if your ancestor did nothing and sat on the couch their whole life, if they lived during 1912, they would have picked up the newspaper and read about the sinking of the Titanic. They would have been moved, by all the stories that were happening in the time. So you can still write about their life by writing about the events that took place during their lifetime. Don't just collect all the biographical information like I have been doing for decades. That's all I did. Where's the next birthday? Where was so-and-so born? Until a relative reached out to me and said, Val, this is great that you have all this biographical information, but where are the stories? And I'd never thought about it that way before. Because I had all the stories in my head. I never thought to write them down. And ever since that conversation, it changed the whole trajectory of my research. Now, that's the first thing I do, is I start to write the stories. I never stop researching either, because I'm still looking for dates and so forth. But now I write the stories. And this is how I share them. I share them in my books. My kids love my books. They can understand this. They can't understand my handwriting and my files, which is fine. So I fill my books with photographs and all the images, which they love. Then I turn some of the stories into newspapers and magazines, and of course, pedigree charts. These are all fascinating ways to share your history. Don't let all the files pile up and just collect and collect and collect info. You really have to turn it into something shareable. Now, as you're writing your family's history, you really should know about some of the major events that happened in the Virgin Islands, the local and the world events, because this is what impacted their lives. You have the slave insurrection of St. John from 1733. You have emancipation. You've got these tragic hurricanes that happened in 1867, where the wreck of the Rhone happened in the BVI, and so many people lost their lives. You've got labor revolts, transfer day. There's so many memorable events that you really need to weave into your family story. If you want to know more about all the events that happened, I've curated those again on my website. If you don't see it published, reach out to me. You know, maybe I have it on the back end and I haven't had time to publish the story, but I can help you. And I want to impress upon you, never stop researching. Especially, well, family historians who we just love it, so we never stop anyway. But still, I am making discoveries still. Just last week, I found this newspaper clipping from 1939. Now, of course, it's been in the paper all these years, and I've searched the papers every day. But I just found this and discovered that my great-grandmother, her family had the oldest bakery in the Virgin Islands, and that they were descendants of a Spanish grandee. So now I'm going to be researching what is a Spanish grandee, you know, how do you get that title? I'm going to be in Spain now in the records looking for something there, and I'm off on another treasure hunt. So it's incredible. This is my great-grandmother, of course, here, and this is her brother, Jose, who was interviewed by this reporter in the newspaper when he was adult. So he's the one that actually gave this information to the reporter. And it's almost like he's giving it to me because I'm so excited to find this. And I will be turning this, of course, into a story to share with my family. So as we close up on this presentation, I want to impress upon you to definitely download the syllabus. It has so much information in there, including the free research plan that's going to get you started. Purchase a few genealogy templates if you want to save time and have a structure to your research so that it's organized. Genealogy templates is going to have a whole bunch there for you. And of course, I want to welcome you. Join the Family Historian Hub on Facebook, and then you can reach out to me personally, and I can, you know, help you, steer you in the right direction. Here is my website, valeriesims.com, and here's the ones for the templates. And to learn more about different courses you can take on turning your history and research into products, you can visit this website here, familyhistorianhub.com. And if you need help at all, I am always reachable. I'm on social media every day on Facebook. Send me a message and I can point you in the right direction or help you with information from my website. So everyone, I want to thank you for sticking with me to the end. Have fun researching. I'm going to hang around a little bit if you have any questions. Sorry for the little noisy fan in the blurb in the beginning. But I'm so excited to be here and share all my knowledge with you. I did want to cover, maybe if I can, one question that did come in earlier to me. Someone asked me if they were starting out in family research, where would be the first place to start? Because it is overwhelming, and I have shared a lot of resources with you. So I want to say that the number one place that I would start if I was just beginning today, I would start with familysearch.org. That website is free. It has the most records. You have a very good chance of finding something about your ancestor, and you can search from anywhere in the world. It is absolutely incredible. Familysearch.org is where I would start my research. And then my next option would be visiting the newspapers. And between those two resources, you'll find quite a lot of information. So thank you to the person who asked me that question much, much earlier.